Hi, I'm Mel, and today I'm working on a new avatar for my social media accounts. This is going to be the icon I use for my profile pictures across all of my online presences, and so I'm feeling a bit of pressure to make this good. First, I started off with a sketch in my sketchbook. I knew that I wanted my avatar to be a stylized self-portrait, similar to how I look in real life, just idealized. My materials of choice were paper and ballpoint pen. Then I scanned the initial sketch back into ClipStudio to turn it into a digital piece. Using ClipStudio ended up being a challenge for me because in the past I used mostly Autodesk Sketchbook or Photoshop, so the program was unfamiliar. I really struggled at the beginning to get comfortable with the tools. Additionally, I usually work with more traditional materials, so you can see that my line work starts off pretty shaky and inexperienced. The first part I started with was outlining the glasses. I really struggled with this part because it's an inorganic shape, so it really accentuated the mistakes I was making with both the contour and the line quality. Eventually I switched to using a thicker brush to outline the shape of one of the lenses, and then copying and pasting it mirrored to get a more even look. Then I drew around the outline of the lens. My line work is still shaky by the end, but I could tell I was getting locked in and obsessing over this one detail, so I decided to move on to the rest of the piece. Towards the end, I do come back and clean things up a bit more, so don't worry about how scraggly things look right now. I then used the same mirroring technique for the eyes. I did put each eye on its own layer so I can work with them individually after they looked pretty even. Once I was through with the eyes and the glasses, I was able to move on to the bigger shapes in the portrait, which helped a lot with making my lines less shaky because they were bigger and more flowing lines. The most important design features that I wanted to emphasize were my glasses and my two-tone hair. Although I've been wearing glasses for years, my most recent frames have made me the happiest I've been in a long time. I feel like they really complement my face shape, and the lenses are huge, so my eyes don't get lost among them. My two-tone hair is also a recent development. I really like having the shiny blonde hair right next to my face, and I love having my hair that dark auburn color in the back to contrast it. I generally wear a lot of black, so it's a nice pop of color in an otherwise monochrome wardrobe. As I was working, I was taking extra care to try and split up the different parts of the piece into layers that would keep them isolated and organized, so it would be easier to work with when I got into the coloring and shading stage. I also wanted to make it easy to keep the correct parts in the foreground and background, so that way I wouldn't have any weird situations like the nose accidentally being behind the head layer or anything goofy like that. I wanted the flexibility of being able to change a part of the drawing without disturbing the rest. In the future, I think I'd want to take more advantage of the folder system so that I can put all the layers related to one part together. For instance, right now I have 3 separate layers for the left eye, the line art, the flat color, and then the shading. I could have put all those into one folder called Left Eye. Coloring my drawing in ClipStudio was way easier than any other program I've used before. Mainly I was using the pen selection tool to select a flat area and then dropping the color over large areas that were the same color. I'm sure there's a way to do this in Photoshop or Autodesk Sketchbook, but the option was just super easy to find and understand in ClipStudio. You can see me defaulting back to my old habits of outlining the area I want to fill and then using the paint bucket and then going back over the lines where it doesn't quite fill correctly. But this is just genuinely an old habit, and I definitely prefer the selection and fill method more. For the colors, I used the Adobe Cooler site to come up with a palette I really liked. If you're interested in trying it out, I'll leave a link down in the description. It's completely free to use and it helps you pick out different colors and the different colors that would go with them according to color theory. It then gives you the HSL or hex codes so that you can put them into your drawing program to use them. I really wanted to have a cohesive color palette that I could use going forward as my brand colors. They mostly focus on light tan, burgundy, some purples, and some peachy coral colors. I would describe the palette as maybe split harmonious, but I can't remember if that's a real color palette description or if I just made that up, so don't quote me on that. This is the first time I've tried so hard to create a character with a super stylized color palette like this, so there were some points where I was really struggling to trust the process. In particular, this part where the blonde in the hair is the same color as the skin, and then also while I was working on the color in the lips, and it looked super orange and bright and vibrant. I found both of those things to be pretty unsettling. However, there was also a point where I was working on the eye colors, and I initially considered doing the eyes a really stylized burgundy and tan, which I thought looked really cool. Ultimately, I decided to go with some darker colors for the eyes for this particular piece, but I would really like to come back to that idea in another piece in the future, maybe for a piece that leans more heavily into a monochrome aesthetic. For shading, I was trying out a tip that I had seen recommended, which was using a color on the opposite side of the spectrum as the shadows. Since I'm using a lot of reddish warm colors, I took this to be a greenish color. I really had to trust the process on this one because it started off looking unnaturally green and it looked pretty awful. But after adjusting the opacity, I was much happier with how the shadows looked. In the future, I think I would like to learn more about using the color dodge and burn tools, or whatever the ClipStudio equivalent is. They are pretty popular methods of shading, and I just haven't ever bothered to learn how to use them. After I finished this piece, I saw another suggestion to use complementary colors on the shadows and highlights. For example, that would be an orange light source on one side and blue shadows on the other side of the subject. I think this sounds really cool, and I'm definitely adding it to the list of things I want to try out on a future project, because I think it'd be a great way to add more color to an art piece, and I really like seeing lots of colors in art. So I've mentioned, more than once, things that I want to try out in future projects. Although I've been drawing for quite a few years, and I even attempted to go to art school, there's been a lot that has changed in the past several years in terms of what tools are available and how accessible online tutorials have become. So even though I've been doing this for a while, there's still a lot that I'm excited to learn, and the artist space online has become a lot more helpful with different tutorials and the way that people are explaining how they achieve their results in a particular drawing. It's getting easier for me to understand and articulate what specifically about a drawing I'd like to improve upon, and that's really exciting for me. Not only that, but I feel like now that I'm a few years older, the way I'm processing and understanding information is so much different. My attempts to change and improve feel so much more effective than they once did, which is really nice. And the reason I'm not trying these things out now on this particular piece is because I have to end the drawing at some time. At some point, I have to call it done and move on to something different. My goals for this drawing were to use ClipStudio and to create a new avatar for my profile pic for all my different social medias, and I've accomplished that. Everything else can be part of next time. I'm satisfied with the knowledge that I did the best I could in this moment, and it gave me new ideas for how I could make my next attempt a little better. But back to the drawing. For the background, I decided on a simple circle behind your head. I struggled for about a week whether I wanted it to be that pale pink color or the coral, and ultimately I ended up settling on the coral. I like that it's way more vibrant than the pink. Eventually I want to revisit the coral theme and see if I can make it slightly less abrasive. I do understand it's pretty bright. But I'm really happy with how it turned out for now. I've slowly been updating my social media profiles with this new design and the new banners. I've got both Twitter and YouTube updated, so now I just need to remember what other sites I'm on. I'll put some links down in the description in case there are some other sites you'd like to connect with me on. The newest site I just joined is one called Unveiled. I haven't added any of my characters to it yet because I feel like talking about them would make for some good upcoming YouTube videos, and then I could update their Unveiled entries after that. It sounds like a fun way to get them out there and introduce them before putting them online. Ultimately, I think this particular drawing is a little too detailed to read well as a tiny profile picture, so I think a simplified chibi version would work better. Which rolls into where I want to take this design. Next steps are going to be making more facial expressions and poses. I want to be able to use this as the base template, the base character design for a PNG tuber kind of thing. I've seen other YouTubers do it, kind of like Ginger Ninja and Oliver's Antics, and I think it's really cute. I want to try and simplify the design a bit more so that it's more cutesy and smaller and it fits better down in the corner of a video. That being said, I'm still super proud of this drawing. This may be the first time in a long time, if not ever, that I'm legitimately happy with a self-portrait that I've done. But that's going to be all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, maybe check out one of my other videos. Maybe subscribe for more if you liked this one. My current goal is to do one video per month, and so far I'm 1 for 1. If you prefer shorter form videos, I'm currently working through the Meds 100 Heads challenge on YouTube Shorts and TikTok, and I'll be bringing them to Instagram Reels soon as well. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of the speed paint, and hopefully I'll see you all next month. Bye! So in the end, I didn't like how yellow everything looked when I was using this other color for the skin. Yeah, so this looked way too yellow, so I went ahead and did this pinky peachy color instead, which I think looks more natural, more realistic than this. This looks jaundiced.